You could always be living in a worse place. As for Alexei and his parents and grandparents on his father's side, they had a roof over their heads. A roof full of cracked openings, but the walls are way worse. It's common for the whole family to wake up with snow covering their noses, making the mourner rather sneezy and bitter, like a white frog left in a box of black ice all afternoon in autumn. Alexei tries not to complain, considering his parents have enough to deal with. His father works day and night at a factory bathing in fumes he shouldn't breathe in. And he wouldn't be breathing them in if the clowns he worked for didn't give their workers busted masks. As for Mother, she works night and day as a teacher for young teens. Surely the work of the devil himself, having to deal with the loud and rude children for hours. Even after they go home, hopefully to a good scolding, she has to stay at the school to do the worst of it all, paperwork. For the few hours the mother and father had at home, though, was spent wisely, sharing dinner with their beloved son, and hearing the grandparents make jokes about foreigners. One night, though, Alexei feels as though an opportunity presents itself. Taking a stroll in the town one late Saturday, he can see an alley in the distance, possibly leading to the giant green building in the very north. Alexei had never been inside, or even heard of what goes on in there, but he thought, maybe the people inside could give me some advice. Worth a try. People on the outside aren't very helpful to children who smell like old beans and cashews. But Alex had to be smart. God only knows what kind of people occupy this building. They could all be wolves in sheep's clothing, masters of manipulation, insane people itching to punch someone else, or fans of fish on pizza. Under the cover of night, Alexei sneaks his way into the courtyard, seeing a large garden in front of the building. An odd garden. The grass was blue, with green tulips and blue roses, a yellow bench that curved upwards at the end instead of down, and tall lamps with orange bulbs. The double doors at the front of the building were also green, but with a hint of yellow and much lighter in tone with white doorknobs. He was about to open the door when it finally occurred to him, wait a minute, is this legal? Alexei's family didn't exactly need to teach him about trespassing because he was always well behaved, and clearly had an angel on his shoulder, but he still wanted to go inside, so he promised himself that he would say an extra prayer that night and apologize to whomever he ended up offending. It was so dim inside, Alexei could barely see where he was putting his feet. Each step he took, he was sure he would end up into a wall, a table, or a person. Eventually, he happened upon another door, and there was a light seeping out from the bottom, so there must be someone inside the room. And upon opening the door, he was met with countless wolfmen gathered in a circle, surrounding a fountain of green liquid. To say Alexei was startled by this would be an understatement. He was paralyzed by absolute horror beyond repair. After being gone too long by now, his parents were worried, so his mother decided to look for him first, while the father stayed behind to look after his parents. To her surprise, though, Alexei was headed right for the house. "Alexei!" she cried. "Where have you been?" I figured I'd ask someone for advice, see if there was something we could do to turn our lives around. "Well, do you have any good news?" "Yeah, turns out we can just turn Grandma and Grandpa into dog food and we'll be rich." At first, his mother had a look of confusion, worry, and disbelief. However, at the end of their pitiful rope, she humored her deeply troubled son. She sighed, "All right, where do we take them?" "That green building over there. Technically, I was trespassing, but I did apologize to them as soon as I could." I think all three of us will be saying sorry a lot from now on. Under the impression of seeing a comedy show, the grandparents were delighted to get out of the house. And, for what it's worth, they didn't feel a thing at the end of the night. The following Sunday morning, Alexei woke up to find himself sleeping in a brand new bed wearing clean pajamas. Running to his parents' room, they had the same treatment. The whole house looked like a small palace instead of a shack. They had a kitchen, a garden, a living room, and a greenhouse with blue roses and green tulips. "Well, ain't this a sight?" the father said. I suppose we ought to thank those wolfmen. And so we shall, dear, the mother agreed. Alexei, dress up nicely and bring a gift. To the family's surprise, however, the green building was gone, and in its place stood a yellow tower. What sorcery is this? Alexei asked. They decided to approach. No garden, lamps, or benches this time, just a grand staircase that led to the door. A more normal-sized door, painted lavender. The father knocked and waited, and soon an old woman appeared, asking, Can I help you? Do you know where the wolfmen are? Alexei asked. She stared at him in confusion for a second. I have no idea what you mean, little man. This tower belongs to the Baron. If you'd like to see him, I can set up an appointment for tomorrow. But not today. He doesn't work on God's Day. Who is the Baron exactly? The mother asked. The one who speaks to lizards and hangs with bats. He moves like water and thinks like a cat. He never sleeps, even during the night. But when the music makers dream, he must turn out the lights. And with that, she bleeds back inside and the door closes. Quite an odd riddle to leave someone with, the father said. Who would ever talk with lizards?